Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph, 9 lines from the top. And we learned in regards to shogeg, a person is miskavein from doing the act that he's doing, only doesn't know that it is Shabbos, he doesn't know perhaps that it is Malacha. That's the classical shogeg. However, the pasuk says Asher chata ba in regards to shogeg. He is miskavein to doing that chet. Prat, Chazal learn out to exclude a person who's misasik b'davar acher, v'asa davar zeh. He is preoccupied with something else, and he does this act. The case that the Gemara brings is a case where a person dropped a knife. He picks up the knife, and while picking up the knife, he cuts a blade of grass. There he's misasik, and therefore he's potter according to everybody. However, Rava applies the concept of misasik to also a place where a person has kavana for doing something, in this case, let's say cutting that which is talush, but indeed it comes out that he cut something that was mechubar. According to Rava, that will also be misasik, because he knows that it's also to cut mechubar, and he also knows that it's Shabbos, whereby this is a case of misasik. Abai says that's not the case of misasik. If he knows what he's doing, he knows that he's cutting, even though he ends up cutting that which is mechubar, when he intended to cut that which is talush, is going to be shoigeg and chayiv a korban chatos. Says the Gemara Itmar. The Gemara brings the following statement: Niskaven lizroik shtayim v'zorak arba. A person intends to throw an object 2 amos in the Rishus Harabim, and instead he throws it 4 amos. Rava Omar Potter, Abaye Omar Chayiv. Rava says in that case he'll be Potter, because indeed he intended only to throw it 2 amos. Abaye says pot chayiv because indeed he planned to throw it. The fact that he ended up throwing it 4 amos makes him shoigeg. As follows: Rava Mar Potter deloy mitkimechavein lezrika da arba. Rava says that he's potter because he didn't intend to throw it daled amos. Abaye Omar chayiv deha kimechavein lezrika ba'alma. Abaye says that he's chayiv because he did intend to throw it. So that's a case of shoigeg. Kisavar, a new case, Rishus Hayochi v'nimtza Rishus Harabim. He thought that he's throwing it from the Rishus Hayochid into the Rishus Hayochid, and indeed it came out to be that he threw into a Rishus Harabim. Again, Rava Omar Potter v'Abaye Omar Chayiv. Rava says that this is Potter because after all, this is also a case of misasek, whereas Abaye says it's Chayiv. Rava Omar Potter dehola mechavin lizrika di isura. Rava said he's potter because he doesn't intend to throw it into the Rishus Harabim, a zrika that's osir. Abaye Omar Chayiv deha kamechavin lizrika ba'ama. Abaye says that he's chayiv because he intends to throw it, and therefore we have 3 machlokesin between Abaye and Rava. The first machlokes we mentioned before is a case where he intends to cut that which is talush, and instead he cuts that which is mechubar. A second case where he intends to throw 2 amos in the Rishus Harabim, he ends up throwing it 4 amos in the Rishus Harabim. And the third case, he intends to throw it from the Rishus Hayochid to the Rishus Hayochid, and he ends up throwing it from the Rishus Hayochid to the Rishus Harabim. In all 3 cases, Rava maintains that he's misasek, and Abaye says that he's chayiv achatos. Vitzricha says, we need all 3 cases. If he only had the first case where he thinks that he's cutting that is which is talush, that is which is detached from the ground, this case Rava says he's going to be potter, he's misasek because he has no intention to cut that which is osir. Aval niskavin lizrok shtayim v'zorak arba. The arba below tarti lo mizrikalei emumodel. But in the case where he throws it, intending to throw it 2, and he ends up throwing it 4, included in the 4 is the 2 amos that he intended to. Therefore, maybe you would say that Rava would agree with Abaye in that case. Kamash Malan, Rava still says this is misasik. He has no intention to throw it arba amos. V'yashminim boha, if he only knew this case of throwing it 2 amos, intending 2 amos, but he threw it 4 amos. Behoka marove Then Rava says he's a misasik because he didn't intend to throw it daled amos. Aval kesover rishus hayochid v'nimtzu rishus harabim. The mechavein lezrika daled the arba amos moidi leila abaye. But in the case where he threw it from the rishus hayochid, thinking that he's throwing it into the rishus hayochid, he ends up throwing it to the rishus harabim. He intends to throw it daled amos. So therefore, maybe Rava would then say he's going to be chayiv like Abaye. Kamash Milan. Therefore, we need all three cases of tzricha. The Gemara now brings our Mishnah that we're going to mention in the coming lines. Tnan avos malachos arbaim chaser achas. The Mishnah says there are 40 malachos minus 1, 39 malachos. Vehavinan bo. Let us analyze this statement. Minyana lamali. Why does the Tana have to then tell us that there are going to be 39 malachos? After all, he lists each and every malacha, whereby if we count the malachos, we'll know that there are 39. Answers the Gemara of Amar B'Yochanan, Shim Asan Kulam Behelem Echod, Chayiv Al Kol Achas Ve'achas. Rabbi Yochanan says that if he does all of these 39 malachos with one Helem Echod, one forgetful period, he can be chayiv 39 different korbanos, a korban chatas for each and every one. Bishlama la'abaye, the Gemara asks, the Omar ki hay gavna chayiv. It's very well according to Abaye. Such a case, he will be chayiv, because Abaye says he intends to then throw it 2, and he intends throwing 4. Abaye says he's chayiv for such a case. So here also we can say mishkachas lo de yada de asura Shabbos. He knows that it's Shabbos, that it's Osir to do this malacha, but he makes a mistake in the shiur. So whatever malacha he's doing, he makes a mistake in the shiur. In that case, when he does do the malacha, he will be chayiv a korban chatas. So Abai is understood. But according to Rava, who says that he would be potter in a case where he throws it 4 amos when he thinks that he's throwing it 2 amos. How can we find a scenario that we have all 39 malachos in our Mishnah? Says the Gemara, Bezdoin Shabbos v'shigas malacha. When he knows that it's Shabbos, but he doesn't know that it's malacha that he's doing. So Gemara says, Hanicha isavar like Rabbi Yochanan. That would be well if you would go according to Rabbi Yochanan. The Omar Kiven Sheshoga Bekaris Afagav Afal Pisha Hizi Belav Mishkachas La Diyada La Shabbos Belav. It's good if you go according to Rabbi Yochanan, because then you know that Rabbi Yochanan, who says that he's shoygig only in the fact that he doesn't know that carries with it a penalty of kares, but he does know that he's doing a malacha. So then he knows that it's Shabbos clearly, and therefore he's going to be chayiv for that malacha. And he does that for all 39 malachos. He'll be obligated 39 different karbonos. But according to Reish Lakish, like Reish Shimon Lakish, the Amar Ad Sheyishkoig Belav V'Kares. But according to Reish Shimon Lakish, where he's shoygeg not only in not knowing the penalty of kares, but not knowing that he's doing a malacha, the Yada L'Shabbos B'mai. How does he know that this is Shabbos? That this day distinguishes itself from all other days. After all, if he doesn't know that this is malacha, so then how does he know that this is Shabbos? They should be chayiv, therefore, for shoygeg of 39 malachos. Answers the Gemara, he can distinguish that this day is Shabbos from all other days, the yada la betchumin, because he knows that there is an iser of techumin. V'alibad Rabbi Kiva, and according to Rabbi Kiva, this is a techumin which is the araisa, whereby he is aware that this is Shabbos, only he's not aware that this is malacha, whereby each and every malacha, when he does all of these malachas behelem echad, he's going to be chayiv 39 different korbanos. The Gemara now brings our Mishnah that we've quoted more than once, that discusses all 39 malachos as follows. Avos malachos arboim chaser achas. There are 39 malachos. Here it says avos malachos, because indeed there are many toldos. But here it mentions there are 39 avos malachos that were performed in relation to the Mishkan. And toldos are those that are doime, that are similar to these avos malachos, that are equally prohibited midi araisa, but they were not performed in the Mishkan. These are the following: Hazareya, one who seeds, who sows; Vehachoresh, and one who plows. V'hakoitzer, and one who reaps. V'hamaimer, and one who gathers together the stalks, the grain from the field and making it into bundles. V'hadosh, one who threshes. V'hazoire, one who winnows by throwing up that which was threshed, and then the wind blows the lighter parts and cause the heavier parts that are psoiles to fall down. Haboirer, selecting. Hatoichen, grinding. Hamaraked, sifting. V'halosh, this is kneading. V'ha'oife, and baking. These first 11 malachos are called Sidur de Pas, and indeed there was no need to bake Pas in terms of the Mishkan itself, and therefore it says Ha'oife only because Sidur de Pas, really it's likened to Bishul, which is the malacha that was used in the Mishkan to cook the various herbs for their dye in order to then color the Yirmiyahu of the Mishkan. So the first 11 malachos are called Sidurei de Pas in terms of then planting and ultimately coming to the various malachos that were in regards to then the seeds that were needed for the herbs that ultimately were dyeing the Yirmiyahu. Now the next set of malachos are the Asiyas Begadim, and these Asiyas Begadim are a total of 13 different malachos. Says the Mishnah, Hagoizes es hatzemer, shearing the wool from the sheep. Hamalabno, taking the wool and then whitening it by cleaning it. Vamenapsoi, and combing it out, including also beating it. Vehatsoivoi, and dyeing the wool. Vehatoive, and making the pieces into threads by twisting them together. The next 4 malachos have to deal with ariga, with weaving, hamesach, when you prepare the shesi on the loom. The shesi is the threads that go in the horizontal way. V'ha'oise shtei batei nirim, placing 2 threads in a batei nirim. V'ha'oreg shnei chutim, and weaving the orev in the shesi, 2 different weaves, 2 different threads. V'ha'potzea shnei chutim, or removing 2 of the threads. Ha'koisher, the next malachas is ha'koisher v'ha'matir. They used to then need to make different types of nets in order to catch the chilazon for its blue dye, for the techeles, and therefore they would koisher, they would tie together the different pieces to make the nets, and sometimes v'hamatir, they would have to undo them to make different size nets. V'hatoifer shtei tfiros, and one who sews 2 different stitches by going in and out. In order for that to stay, they really have to tie a knot at the end, or they would make 3 stitches, but a minimum of 2 stitches. And if you would tie a knot, it would be 2 different malachos of tfira as well as kosher. Hakareya manas litfor shtei tfiros, or one who was kareya, who tore the stitching in order to then make stitching. There would sometimes be a hole in the yerios of the Mishkan, of the curtains of the Mishkan, whereby they would have to then tear it even further in order to then mend it again so it would be more smooth, and therefore they would kareya amanas litfor. We go on to the malachos of aros, which are 7 in its count. Hatzor tzvi, one who traps a tzvi, lavdafka a tzvi, but the tzvi was a typical animal that was trapped, but any animal would be considered the malacha of trapping. Hashoichtoi, one who slaughters it. V'hamafshitoi, and taking off its hides. V'hamolcho, and salting it. V'hamabedes oro, and tanning those skins. V'hamachkoi, and scraping off the hairs of the skin and smoothing it. V'hamachatchoi, and also cutting it into sizes. The Mishnah goes on to say several other malachos, hakoisev shtei oisios, one who writes 2 osios. That was done on the Mishkan in order to then, when they would dismantle and then rebuild the Mishkan, they would write 2 osios on each of the beams and be able to connect them to know which one is adjacent to the other. V'hamoichek al manas lichtov shtei osios, one who erases the 2 osios in order to write 2 osios. Here it's referring to then, they would make a mistake, so they'd have to then erase those osios. A separate malacha called hamoichik. Haboine, one who builds, is a malacha. V'hasoise, one who demolishes for a constructive purpose. Hamechabe, one who extinguishes a flame. V'hamavir, and one who ignites a flame. And finally, hamake bepatish, one who makes a final blow, refers to the end of a gemar malacha. And finally, the 39th malacha listed here is hamoitzi mirishus to rishus, when one transfers and goes from rishus hayachid to rishus harabim, or vice versa, rishus harabim to rishus hayachid. Hare'elu avois malachos arboim choser achas. These are the 39 malachos that were done in the Mishkan. They were avois malachos. Again, there are many more toldos malachos, but those were not done in the Mishkan. Those were just doimet to these avois malachos.